Breathing Season 1 Episode 1 Arrivals Recap. The first episode of Keep Breathing had some interesting ideas, although it is hard to get excited about it. Certain performances were less than stellar, especially those at the airport. There isn't much in terms of new material here so far since this subject has been dealt with numerous times already. The flashbacks aren't really necessary and just fill gaps between the survivalist action. The scenery is nice for the most part, even though the series didn't seem authentically expansive in the first episode. Truthfully, this could become exciting, but it depends on how well the survival aspects of the show are executed. The first episode didn't have a lot to offer in this category. If it focuses too much on the flashbacks, it'll get dragged down by its own weight. I could see it becoming uneventful with one character being all alone in the wilderness though. While I am not hooked yet, the episode was competent and engaging once Liv got on the airplane. Keep Breathing Season 1 Episode 2 Fire and Water Recap. The second episode of Keep Breathing followed the formula established in the first without any noticeable improvements. While not totally realistic, the survival scenes are at least interesting. The biggest problem is that Keep Breathing doesn't know what it wants to be or what it wants to do. A few flashbacks here and there to provide insight into a character's past is fine, but the flashbacks are too much here. It doesn't help that the flashbacks are covering multiple time periods. One is focusing on Liv's relationship with Danny while the other involves the death of her father. These scenes slow the pace of the show and prevent the action from becoming intense. There is likely some type of message here, although it is hard to say what that message might be right now. Truthfully, this should be a show capable of keeping viewers on the edges of their seats, but that is becoming less and less likely due to the slow pace and overwhelming flashbacks. Keep Breathing Season 1 Episode 3 Hierarchy of Needs Recap. The plot is interesting enough but in no way unique. It has a Robinson Crusoe feel. I will say it's uncompelling in many ways. If someone found themselves stranded in the woods, they surely wouldn't roam around at night. Liv ignores the dangers of her surroundings and doesn't do anything to create a protective shelter. A diet of berries will not suffice very long. Liv, at no fault of her own, has found herself in an unpredictable and dangerous situation. Even so, it is difficult to empathize with her. Her sharp tongue and standoffish attitude make her unlikable. It is difficult to say if we are supposed to support her or hope the wild animals get her. I question why they chose Sam of all people to feed Liv's psychosis. Why not her father? I wanted to add that it was a bit silly for Liv to give up catching a fish so easily. Here you are in a situation where food is essential for survival. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation. What does Liv do? Give up. The scenery is breathtaking. The continuous transition from present to past is ridiculous. I understand the importance of flashbacks is to give viewers a perspective of Liv before the plane crash. Keep Breathing Season 1 Episode 4 Departures Recap. The fourth episode of Keep Breathing was okay, but the flashbacks are becoming more of a nuisance than anything else. It is obvious what they're trying to achieve by giving us insight into Liv's past, but it is getting to the point of beating a dead horse. There needs to be a more balanced blend of past and present to keep the current survival storyline moving at an interesting pace. It is also difficult to believe that Liv is going to have everything she needs to create a compass. Even though some of these things were covered in previous episodes, it just seems unrealistic for someone to carry all that stuff with them. The biggest problem is the emphasis placed on the past, since many viewers have seen stuff like this before and they probably won't be too enthusiastic about these slow-paced flashbacks. The survival scenes are what will set the series apart from others, but they're being pieced together like a jigsaw puzzle between overwhelming flashbacks, making it difficult to remain engaged. Keep Breathing Season 1 Episode 5 Awake and Dreaming Recap. The fifth episode of Keep Breathing felt like it lost the plot and transformed into a jumbled mess of thoughts and ideas. Liv found herself stuck in a hole under a rock. In the end, she managed to break the rock and pull her bottom half out from under it. It is surprising that she was pretty much unscathed after everything that happened, especially having a big rock fall on your lower half. There are more effective ways to get a point across instead of combining multiple time periods in flashbacks. The idea is good while the execution could have been cleaner. Even though the episodes are 40 minutes or less, they sometimes drag because the flashbacks are more annoying than entertaining. There is only one episode left. The series is either going to end on a high note and salvage itself or continue on its steady decline. If the latter is true, it will be hard to justify watching the series only to be let down by a weak finale. Keep Breathing Season 1 Episode 6 You Are Home Recap. The final episode of Keep Breathing had some legitimately touching moments even though it dragged at times and was slightly confusing other times. There was likely a deeper message here, but it was hard to decipher exactly what the show was attempting to say. The way the series ended wasn't the most realistic conclusion. I figured Liv left the postcards in her backpack in the cave, but I can overlook something like that because it was more sentimental. It is hard to imagine that Liv would float all the way down the rapids only to be pulled out of the water by two fishermen later. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movie's explanation. She'd be banged up by the rocks, logs, and other objects in the water. She could also get stuck and end up drowning. Those rapids aren't a joke. On the other hand, some of the scenes were beautifully shot and the songs for the soundtrack were well selected. There were moments when the series was emotionally effective. This isn't a show for people who are looking for an intense survival drama because it doesn't come close to being that. It rarely touches on these subjects and instead tells a story through sometimes confounding flashbacks that might be too ambitious since they're tackling multiple stages of Liv's life. Some aspects of the projection worked while others didn't. As a whole, it was just okay and sometimes frustrating due to the constant flashbacks. In a way, I think it would have meant more if Liv hadn't been saved because it was such a beautiful death if there is such a thing.